Welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of Glazing by the people of Glazing. I'm George Lewis, editor at the People in Glazing Society, or more commonly known as PiGs, and I'll be your host. Really delighted to have on the show today Sam Weber. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Thanks very much, George. Welcome to. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad to have you on. You know, as you can see with your background, you're not in the usual office type. But we'll start off with the first question of who you are and what you do within our industry.
Okay, so my name's Sam Weber. I've been in the industry since 1989. Manufacturing company, and I sort of worked in the factory there for a number of years until he felt that I was ready to go into my first sales role. So that seems an awful long time ago. But the interesting thing there was my first proper boss was Andrew Scott, now of Perfect and Insight Data. And he was kind of responsible for introducing me into the importance of marketing. So we had a brand called the British Security Window. And so even from an early stage, it wasn't just about going out about selling and knowing about the product from the manufacturing perspective, which enabled me to sort of win over some of the trade accounts being so young. But the marketing side of it, I understood the importance of differentiating your product from a very early stage. So I'm happy to attribute that to Mr. Scott.
Nice. And how did it feel being so young? Like you said, you started young from in the business. Like, how did it feel to be in the industry at that time and to be so young in the industry?
Well, I was quite lucky. My dad's before he went into manufacturing, he was sales manager for Spectus when it was EPL Extrusions, in fact. So I did my first work experience when I left college. I was studying business studies, and my first job was going up to Macclesfield and spending time in their marketing department. And at that time, GlassX, I was exposed to the GlassX exhibition, which was absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Every profile company was up there. The big night of the week was going to Hall Green Dog Track. So if you got that ticket on the coach, to get there, it was an absolute privilege. And you had people like, Gary Morton. I met up with Gary Morton not so long ago because my dad sadly passed away. And they were the two only ginger profile salespeople in the industry. So they stood out like a sore thumb. But, that was the attraction. And like I say, Tony Higgins from the G Awards, these are all the people that I sort of looked up to and looked at, really as kind of inspirational.
Okay. And the conversation before you even got your first work experience, did you have conversations with your dad about what the industry was like? Is it something that interested you from an early age, or was it kind of lucky that your dad worked in the industry and got you that first sort of role?
Well, if you can remember before mobile phones, which you probably can't.
Okay,
So
I
during the
can. I
summer
am old enough.
holidays,
Just
during the summer holidays, I used to go out with my dad while he was selling, actually out on the road. And so I had to sit in the car on double yellow lines when he dived into a phone box, but also he would allow me to come into meetings.
yeah. No.
So from a very, very early age, I was exposed to kind of business meetings. And I remember those guys now, if they're still in the industry. And so, unless you're a real idiot, I've always listened to how people start a conversation, how they finish. Not all the meetings were positive sales meetings. They were on the back foot if they'd let people down with supply.
Yeah.
And then with mobile phones, you'd sort of listen in and how people engage with people on the phone, when to be super professional, when you can relax a little bit. And I think you just pick up on all of the. I mean, I've really had a privileged introduction into the industry because I have worked with some of the true pioneers and innovators, no question about it. And I've learned good and bad off all of them.
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting.
Yeah, and do you think those conversations that you now have changed over the years, like with the industry changing how it has just in the last few years that I've been in the industry, but sort of further back for you? Do you think those conversations are now different? Like you have to go about it a different way?
Very much so. Very much so. So because my dad came from profile sales when it was huge, then he went into manufacturing, and that's gone through many, many cycles from everybody selling the same thing, a white internally beaded window with maybe a couple of wood grains and a couple of handle choices, then having white gaskets and white spacer bars, and then going super energy efficient.
Yeah.
And then now it's all about, the aesthetics, the curb appeal that you can change somebody's property with. It's about the materials that you can use. It's finding out from the consumer what they actually really want. So back in the day, profile companies didn't really care where their products ended up because they were so far removed from the end user, whether that be, a new build estate, whether it be a retail customer. Now you look at the profile companies and they are absolutely engaged with where their products are going to end up,
Yeah.
and they design them accordingly, and quite rightly so.
Yeah, and is it nice that you've sort of over the years you've been at all parts, like you said, you've been working for manufacturing people, fabricators, and working with installers. Like, do you feel like you've got the whole sort of idea of
Yeah,
how our industry works?
I do. I mean, I left my dad's business and went to Epwin Group. So Epwin Group were one of the largest group of companies at the time. Jim Rawson was kind of one of the pioneers of UPVC, and he actually sat in on my interview when I was at Quantel. Now Quantel was a brand new roofing systems company. The only other company at the time really was Ultraframe, and that was 1996. And when we did Glass X, it was the proper launch,
Mm,
so you had no real competition. It was really quite surreal, but they had a very unique offering, and I understood that. So I went out with a slightly different approach and was very, very successful off the back of a really big brand. After that, I went to work with Andrew Scott when he was at Cambrian. And Cambrian were a commercial arm of Carradine Everest at the time, and they were making the transition into trade sales. So that was a unique
yeah,
experience. And Andrew really sort of polished up the product really with calling it a marketing product called the Nexus program. And it just gave the customers some tools in which to differentiate themselves. And I think the interesting thing is what I've watched my dad's career go from profile supply to manufacturing, and then the last sort of 25 years into retail.
mm,
And so you understand each aspect of it. So when you're manufacturing and you've got all these profile companies coming into you, glass companies, hardware companies, they're all giving you little snippets of information
yeah,
which you can help you form making decisions. As soon as you go out retail, you're very, very isolated.
mm,
You've either got a handful of suppliers that are just going to tell you what you want to hear, or you haven't got time to see everybody.
yeah,
And and it's really, the last 18 months of my career has been working with a great company called Sussex County Windows. I've known those guys for 15 years. I've seen their business really grow. Hopefully I've helped them sort of shape their marketing a little bit better, add some new products into it, giving them some ideas on how they can showcase some of the really cool brands that they work with. And we did everything from grade 2 listed building stuff, really big architectural glazing, office block contracts.
yeah,
Um, but it really added that last layer of skill set that I really needed to understand.
mm,
So I can share with you now. I can't share where I'm going to be going, but I can share with you now that I'm currently in between positions, and I'm joining a really, really exciting organisation next year.
yeah,
We've got a new company being formed with a new product range, and then there's 4 other businesses that I'll be the group sales director for, and we've got a really, really firm focus, an idea where we want to get to, and I'm really, really excited.
yeah. Watch this space, yeah, for next year to
Yeah,
say,
very much so.
yeah. And do you think how do you feel the sector's been? Like you said, you're moving into a new role in the new year, but how do you feel sort of in your previous role? How has the sector been for you as a whole?
I think the interesting thing being retail, we had a number of people coming, trying to sell us products, and suppliers, current suppliers selling us products, and some of them really want to know about your business and where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing next year, what are your
Mm,
plans, and others really don't care. They just sell product to you,
yeah,
and they don't really want to know what you're up to. So I think there's always been the lazy people in the industry. There's lazy installers that moan that there's no business about, and yet 5 miles up the road there's a guy
yeah,
flying. And the same with fabricators. Oh, business is down because the economy says it's down. Well, you just got to knock more doors.
mm,
You've just got to engage with maybe a target audience that you're not engaged with at the moment. Maybe you look at different product lines. Maybe you look at different income streams.
mm,
There are a million ways that you can grow a business.
yeah.
And you've just got to have firm ideas, a firm foundation, and a clear strategy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had the same conversations. There people are saying that, yeah, it's been a hard year, and things were picking up, but are sort of gone down again, and others saying that, that, like you said, they're absolutely flying. Can't there's not enough time in the day. So yeah, it just depends who you talk to, really, isn't it? And what it's like.
Listen, I was privileged to work with Sergit and Richard at Evolution in a transition for the industry. So I was the sales director of Evolution. They'd been going for a few years. We started to do the consumer shows. So from working in trade all my life, going to these big consumer shows was
Yeah.
a massive change. It's a bit like passing your driving test and suddenly going out there and driving. You realise, wow, you've got to get
Whole
your
new
act
world.
together. And we were the only UPVC company there. And for a few years, we literally had it to ourselves. And this was before Dan Gill designed the Residence Collection. This was before any of the other profile companies came out with flush windows.
Yeah.
But we had this idea that we kind of piggybacked on the back of Master Frame and their Bygone collection and thought, actually, there's a gap in the market. And to truly see a gap in the market is visionary. So, Sergio and Richard absolutely take, the credit for that. But we also followed companies like timberwindows.com that were selling into the retail PVC market, where price has always been really quite, at the forefront.
Mm.
And I was watching these companies that are buying their products doing really, really well, but their white PVC dropping off, which was normally happen in a recession. And so we tacked on the back of that and did extraordinarily well, So and that, and obviously I moved on from there and went to CWG to work with Jason Wilder, who's also going to be a teammate in my Atlantic row.
Mm.
But he's scaled up many businesses and done extraordinarily well. And we were the first to manufacture residents, which I was absolutely delighted about because, when I saw that product, it was something that I would have dreamed of at Evolution
Yeah.
because it's the true timber alternative. So again, very lucky working with visionaries, working with people that have transformed the industry really.
Yeah. And is that outlook sort of positive for next year? Like obviously you said you're moving into a new role, so do you think it's actually could be a good year next year for those that are doing it right?
Well, within our group of businesses, we've got a relatively small but really, really ambitious and professional PVC manufacturing company. So the foundations are there, and I've always learnt in life that you can't build anything unless it's on firm foundations.
Definitely. Yeah.
They've got absolutely no issues with growth and what that might entail. So, we're looking at the product portfolio, we're looking at the kind of markets that we want to attract in the first year or 18 months. There's a really significant aluminium company within the group, probably one of the larger bifolding door manufacturers that are also introducing new products to their line, which is great. So we can build on that. We've got a performance glass company that was a recent acquisition. Again, already making significant profit, and we've got some great ideas for that. So it's the first time that I've taken on such a dynamic role.
Yeah.
But I think with the preparation that I've had with the row over the last 2 years and all the other ingredients, I think it couldn't have come at a better time.
Nice. Well, yeah, it's exciting things to come. But talking about the present, and for people that are watching this, they can see on your jacket about your row. Can you explain what it is? And that a lot of the industry are sort of pushing you on to donate and sponsor. Can you explain what it is and why you're doing it, basically?
So back in 2017, I started to take on extreme fundraising challenges. So it started off by the Three Peaks, the Fan Dance, which is the Brecon Beacons
Yes.
SAS sort of physical challenge, the Yorkshire Three Peaks. And then I had an epiphany in 2018 when my best mate's brother, who was still serving in the SAS at the time, but spent 20 years in the
Yeah.
SAS, took on a polar expedition, which was the first of its kind to traverse Antarctica. And I was following his progress. And there was a time where he nearly died. The
Right.
pulk, he went down a crevasse and the pulk fell on him. And I'm
Jeez.
thinking, this is a guy that's been in, combat zones
Yeah.
all his
Yeah.
life. And now he's doing something for charity and for self, I suppose, self-awareness or just challenging
Yeah.
yourself. And so I booked Kilimanjaro, and I had about 2 months to get my training in, and I went off to do Kilimanjaro. And obviously that's very close to balls to marketing and all the great guys that have just successfully summited. And summiting a mountain is really quite magical, and I was trying to get that point across to Sarah and Andy. When you start climbing above the clouds, there is
Yeah.
something quite magical. And I came down from that a different person, and 2 weeks later I ended up doing a jungle survival course deep in the Amazon rainforest with an Amerindian tribe and an ex-SAS officer. And although not physical, it was absolutely crazy because it was a military grade jungle survival course. And again, it just changed my life.
Yeah.
And so then a couple of things happened. I was training for a wilderness challenge in Canada. Then lockdown happened. And then I attempted to climb the highest mountain in the southern and western hemisphere, a really horrible mountain called Aconcagua. Sadly, I got to 23,000 feet and had high altitude sickness and coughed up blood, so that was unsuccessful. But I'd heard about the world's toughest road back in 2018, and it was over 100,000 just to get to the start line.
Mm.
And I just didn't know anybody that wanted to do it with me, so it kind of died a death. And then just by pure chance, my dad had sadly passed away, and I was out in Spain, and I was talking to my mum and my wife about, different things. And my mum said the challenge that your dad always wanted you to do was to row the Atlantic.
Okay.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And that afternoon, I just got this random email from a guy that had already bought a boat, that had already signed up for the 24 race, similar age in the UK. And it was like tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
And so I joined their team, and we've never looked back. And I'm very proud to say that we've the campaign's running at about £250,000 now.
Wow.
Now, that's not all in cash donations, that's in equipment, and obviously corporate sponsorship as well as Just Giving sponsorship. And I have to say, the industry is a big industry, our glazing industry, and I'm really, really proud, and I don't say that lightly. Um, the amount of people that have jumped on board
Yeah.
on our campaign has been absolutely breathtaking. And what I'm going to do over the next couple of days, I won't recite them all now. I'm going to do a walk around the boat before it goes in the water, because they're all proudly sponsored on our race wrap now. And I just want to say thank you to each and every single one of those for coming on board, if you pardon the pun, and supporting me. Some of them don't even know me,
Yeah.
or never knew me. I always thought it'd be the people that knew me, and obviously I've been successful with that. But to know when you're rowing and you're having a dark day, or you've just been flipped over in a big wave, or you're in a storm, and just knowing that all of those people in the industry that I'm going to have to see face to face at the fit show, that's going to inspire me.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit cliched, but it absolutely will.
Yeah,
So
it's an unbelievable
I'm
industry.
indebted to
This industry just, as you said with Andy and Sarah and the team doing Kilimanjaro a few months ago, just the amount that they raised for Kelly's
oh,
Heroes and other charities as well. But yeah, the amount of time that they step up, we do stories in our newsletter weekly about people doing, from small, like bake sales, things like that, to things like yourself that are doing incredible things like that.
well, all those guys who climb Kilimanjaro, there's not one of them won't have an emotional attachment to Kilimanjaro, coming into
Yeah,
that airport, going to those towns that surround it, and everything else like that. It's the same with going out to the middle of the Amazon. There's a connection there. And, the great thing about fundraising is, take the halo off, but you're doing something that's testing yourself, that's challenging you. You're going to a different part of the world. You're learning a new set of skills. I mean, the skills to row the Atlantic, Christ almighty, I could
mm.
probably fly to the moon now. It's insane what you've got to learn.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, I'm kind of a nobody, really. I mean,
yeah,
some of these guys are all serving military, or they're ex-Olympic athletes, or they come from all sorts of different backgrounds. But we've all got one thing common. We're in a race. There's a hell of a lot of race rules and mandatory requirements. We've all passed those. But when you're out there against the elements, against Mother Nature, no one can predict what the weather's going to do.
yeah,
No one's going to, our boat got hit by a giant marlin last year. It featured on, national news. The girls captured it on GoPro, and they were taken on water. And, our boat's now been hit twice by giant marlin. So everyone's now, we're bocking everybody. They're going to try and steer away from us,
yeah.
because they think, well, third time lucky. Is it going to be a shark this time? You know?
And how do those challenges that you said previously that you've done, like obviously you haven't done the race yet, but will be doing it. How in the training that you've done for it, how have they differentiated between? Are they just complete polar
Nothing,
opposites?
nothing compares to this. This has been 2 years of going the physical side, which everybody gets excited about. Crikey, you're going to row 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 24/7 for
Yeah,
45 to 50 days. Of course, that's flipping grim, right? But you go in the gym, and as long as you're not an idiot, you're training, because you're building your body up slowly. People have obviously challenged me on the concept twos to do 2,000 meters. Not interested,
mm,
because I'm rowing at 4 and 5 and 6 hours,
yeah,
but very, very slowly,
yeah,
with my beats per minute going no more than 140. But it's the mindset. This is, and I've talked to many people, Sarah and Andy. I've talked to Andrew Scott. I've talked to so many people in the industry, Adrian Barraclough, Andrew Glover, all of these people. The interesting thing they want to know about is, What's going to motivate you when you're having a dark day? And you will have many, many dark days because you'll be hangry, where you know, you can't eat because you're in 20-foot
Yeah.
waves, right? You've just been through a storm, you miss your family, every single muscle in your body is absolutely on fire, your hands have got blisters on blisters, your bum's got blisters on blisters, and you're scared. You know, you are out there in a tiny little boat in the middle of nowhere, really insignificant, and you're in a storm and you've got to go out on those oars and it's pitch black.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how I come out the other side, because when you talk about resilience and you talk about mindset, and that's before you even got onto the team dynamics. So doing it solo is tough, and I've met loads of solo guys that are doing it, and that is tough. But you can stop when you want to stop. You're not going to argue with anyone. You just do things at your own pace. As soon as you start to add to a team, and the more people you've got on your boat, the more chances of conflict.
Mm.
So we've worked really, really hard with conflict management and, you know, red flags and empathy and how you deal with team dynamics mid-Atlantic when you're so tired you're hallucinating.
Yeah.
You know, you're not just exhausted, you are tired where you're hallucinating, and you're hungry, you miss your family, and anything that would irritate you, you know,
Yeah. You can't just
in
walk away.
you can't. It's a tiny boat, so you have to work on that. And most of these skills I can take into the boardroom, and I can help companies. And how do you deal with conflict management?
Yeah.
So they're the skills that are way over and above. They don't put that in the brochure. And that's the bit I'm fascinated on. Am I going to be that person that's going to unite our team when the chips are down? And I hope I am going to be that person. And that's probably the bigger challenge. Yes, obviously getting successfully over to Antigua is the ultimate challenge, but it's this journey. And I've got loads of podcasts which I've downloaded and loads of, you know, interesting books, you know, because I'm going to have 1,080 hours
Wow.
of no emails and no random chit chat,
Yeah.
you know, and 540 of those are going to be awake.
Yeah.
So I might as well use that time because I'm never going to get that time back.
Yeah. And speaking of it, what are you sort of most looking forward to, and what are you least looking forward to whilst out there?
Toilet in a bucket. Toilet in a bucket is
Yeah.
not great. Even just thinking about, someone told me that they did it the Pacific earlier this year and the bucket split and pinched their bum and ripped it.
Oh.
You know, no one tells you that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just an ordinary builder's bucket from Screwfix at £1.49. So the bit that you're going to use an awful lot is probably the cheapest bit of kit on the boat.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, just navigating, you know, looking at an incoming storm and knowing that you're going to be going straight through it. I mean, that's that's going to take some
Yeah.
courage. But yeah, I mean, there's so much equipment. What I'll do is I'll share some pictures later on, because we'll be doing a kit inspection where you lay every item of equipment out on the dock, and we have to go through that. It's about a 4 or 5 hour process, and you actually think, how do you get that on that boat, and
Yeah.
how do you know where it is? Because you've got to know where every single piece of equipment is. When that boat's upside down in the middle of the sea at night, you've got to know exactly what compartment that vital bit of kit
Yeah,
is.
and we're speaking off air just about the food. Can you for people listening and watching, just explain how much you've got to eat, and you know, to just to keep your energy levels up?
Yeah, so we have to cater for 60 calories per kilogram of weight. So for me, I've got to have 5,150 calories per day, and I've got to have those provisions for 55 days. So so it's about 1.1 million calories of dehydrated food. I've got 4 kilograms of biltong, 5 kilograms of Haribo, 400
Yeah,
flapjacks, just nice little treats that sometimes when you don't want a big meal.
yeah, wow, yeah. It sounds, yeah, it goes without saying. Sounds incredible.
But I'll lose. But I'm head of nutrition, so if we've had a successful row, we shouldn't lose any more than about 6 to 8 kilos.
Okay,
It's not uncommon to lose 12 kilos. So I've bought some tight tops when I get back to see if I can fit in them.
yeah. Have you got any celebrations planned for when you're back, for both once you get back to the UK, and for the team?
I've got, when we get to Antigua, I've got we kind of not really insured to fly for about 7 to 10 days.
Okay,
So I've got my family over there for 3 weeks. So I'm just gonna hopefully eat a fantastic meal. If I can have toad in the hole out there, I'll have toad in the hole. But if not, I think anything other than dehydrated food would be
yeah,
suffice. When I come home, obviously I've got this great work opportunity which I'm absolutely thrilled about. We've got a huge stand at the Fit Show, and so there's so many things to look forward to next year. I had a man overboard leaving party for all my friends. I've now got a welcome home party organised,
Nice.
so that'll be another bit of fundraising. I've got a load of karaoke to try and do mid
Yeah.
Atlantic. We've got access to Wi-Fi, so we're going to try and do some short videos or a little bit of some voice notes just to sort of let people know
Yeah.
how I'm feeling, how I'm coping, and you'll hear it in my voice. You
Yeah.
know, it'll be real. It'll be the most authentic show of resilience or mindset that you could possibly ever have. Because I doubt you'll do an interview with anybody or have any live footage for anyone rowing across the Atlantic, maybe.
No, I don't think so. But no, yeah, like it goes without saying that we obviously wish you and the team and the rest of the teams doing it, the best of luck and the best of weather, to get you across there without too much, trouble.
Well, look, you can follow. You can all follow the boat's progress. There's an app called YB Races, and that's gone live now. So the equipment's been fitted to the boat, and so when you go onto YB Races, you can tap onto World's Toughest Row 24, and we're Team Sea Soar. So as soon as we leave on the 12th of December, we're boat number 10. So we'll probably be leaving around about 10 o'clock in the morning, and you can follow us. And what it does do is it gives a live every 4 hours. It gives a live uh, position of where we are
Okay.
globally, tells us how fast we've travelled in the last 24 hours, where we are in the race, and just some, if you're interested, of
Yeah.
course.
Oh no, I'm sure there will be. Like you said, there's a lot of companies in the glazing sector that have sponsored and donated. And yeah, they'll be very interested to see. And obviously, we'll do as much as we can to show you what you're up to and how you're getting along during that time as well.
Perfect. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you out here because I know we tried to get together before the row, but what
Yeah.
I decided to do is the row wasn't enough in my life. I decided to move house 3 weeks before the row. Then I nearly severed my finger off, which was luck that I didn't sever the tendon.
Yeah.
And obviously now I've got this new career change.
Yeah.
So life's
Don't
interesting, and
don't
you
do
just have to
anything in
manage it.
don't do anything in halves, do you?
No, not at all.
And just quickly about one last question about the Rogue. Obviously, you're doing it for a charity in Lyme Disease UK. Can you explain why you're doing it and what the importance of them?
Very much so. So as Sarah and Andy will know that who you choose to raise money for is really important. And within the industry, there's some obviously great charities. So I'm really privileged to say that people have given some money to ours because it's a one-off. But Lyme's disease. So one of the rowers in our team, his daughter graduated from Cambridge with honours, had all her life ahead of her at the age of 24, and it just got misdiagnosed with Lyme's disease.
Mm,
And people think Lyme's disease is only really just for people who live rurally.
yeah,
But as we develop more and more rural land, which now becomes urban, the ticks are around now and they're on domestic animals as well. And it's a really easy disease to deal with if you diagnose it. It's not life threatening, but it can be chronic.
yeah,
And so his daughter's got that case. I mean, he's been in a privileged position where he's managed to go to Washington, D.C., to the only place in the world that's got some kind of treatment. But each treatment session's over £20,000. So with Lyme disease UK, they normally in a typical year raise about £50,000 in total. We're going to be giving them well over 100,000.
wow,
So for them, one organisation with one strip, so they're coming out to see us off. Each of the people that work for Lyme Disease UK are volunteers, and they've all got Lyme disease.
okay,
And if you take the time to Google famous people with Lyme, you've got some incredible people across, America, the world that have got Lyme's disease, which just have to live with it.
yeah,
So
wow. And lastly, how can people donate to you and the team and to Lyme Disease UK? How do they go about doing that?
the easiest way would be to go on our Seesaw website, which is www.teamseesaw.co.uk. There'll be a link to the Just Giving. And yeah, you can follow everything on there now, to be fair.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, Sam. Yeah, we're going to go on to our quick fire question round, as people have seen on previous episode, where we get
Um,
our guests to answer quick fire questions without sort of thinking about it. So, yeah, I'll fire away with the first thing. What's the first gig that you ever attended?
Madness.
Nice. That's a good one.
Madness in Brighton with my dad. And I had day glow socks on and a load of madness badges. And I think I was really cool.
Yeah, nice. And what's the last one that you attended, the most recent one?
Crikey. I think it was New Order.
Okay,
New Order in Stockholm.
nice. Wow. In Stockholm as well. What's your go-to breakfast? Obviously, yeah, I'm sure food is going to be on your mind for a lot of this race. But what would be your go-to breakfast if you could eat anything?
If I'm talking to my wife, it's obviously avocado smash with poached eggs. If it's out here in the racing community, it is all you can eat buffet.
What's your favorite thing to do outside of work and outside of this at the moment?
I love to spend time with my wife
Nice. Sure, like that.
because she's been really, I've really had to. Rowing the Atlantic's a very selfish thing,
Yeah.
and you say that right at the beginning, but it really is because that becomes paramount. So I've neglected her over the last 2 years, so I'm going to have to make it up to her.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, you're doing something epic, so a film might be made about you. So if there was ever a film made about you and your career and your role, who would you like to play you in a movie?
Tom Hardy.
Nice. I like that. Can see that. And lastly, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years' time? Is there any more challenges on the horizon after
Oh
this one?
yes, I'm glad you asked that. I've been prostituting myself at the last Epsom races. I'm trying to organise an Amazon adventure for 2026,
Okay.
and I've already spoken to a couple of people in the industry, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying, but Elton from Business Pilot,
Yeah.
come on down.
Nice.
He signed
It's
up
it's it's on a recording now. It's
potentially.
it's it's there. It's out there for everyone to see.
Simon Jarman from Clever Bean
Yeah.
Counting. One or two others. I won't mention them just yet because I don't want to scare them off. But the Amazon trip that I'm trying to organise is quite a cool one. So you fly out to Guyana, you spend time with the Amerindian tribe that I trained with, um, doing an intense jungle survival program for about 5 or 6 days. And there are hundreds of rivers out in the Amazon that are unnamed.
Yeah.
So what we do is we identify an unnamed river, and then we take our inflatable canoes and we paddle up there, and camping by the side of the river every night, which requires some kind of interesting skills. And then we get to name the river. Hopefully,
Wow.
I've got to get this verified with the country
Yeah.
and the tourism board over there. But we could actually name the river.
Wow. Incredible.
So you could have a Vika River, you could have a
Yeah.
Pigs River,
Yeah.
a Business Pilot River. I don't know. The world
Yeah.
is
Nice.
is
I'm
out
sure
there. But
there'll be
that's what I'm
there'll be
trying to
people in the
organise for.
glazing sector that'll be definitely up for doing that and to see their name in somewhere like that.
Well, the great thing is you don't have to train for it. There's no physical training. So obviously you've got to be mentally there, and
Yeah.
obviously it's a professional organisation that gives us the training.
Yeah.
But it will change your life.
Nice, nice. Well, it sounds good. Yeah, look forward to hearing about that, and maybe you can come on again in 2026 or next year to promote it when it's going to happen.
You never know. You might sign up
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly. Yeah, I was thinking that might be. Yeah, I have to tell the wife first, but yeah. Well, thanks very much,
Cool.
Sam. Yeah, really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking about your life and the upcoming road. For our final part, we like to let our guests give a shout out to anyone. It can be anyone in the industry, out of the industry, whoever you like. So yeah, fire away.
Well, obviously, I'll have a shout out to my wife, Natasha, my two children, Sonny and Luca. Thank you for supporting me. But more importantly, for my new boss and his wife for giving me this new opportunity. I think that's going to be really exciting. And more importantly, I can't name every single individual sponsor.
Yeah,
Okay. But I will do over the next couple of days. So I will be putting some stuff out on my own social media because I want to show them where their name is on the boat. Because without the sponsorship, without getting to the start line, you can't raise any money.
yeah.
And that's the bit that people sort of forget. I mean, this campaign has cost us 140,000 to get to the start line.
Wow.
Um, and that's a huge, that's a job in its own, just
Yeah,
fundraising. So yeah, and just one last thing. Um, During the race, obviously we've got Christmas Day and New Year's Day away from the family, so we're going to try and do some social media stuff. But also, I'm going to, as a fitting tribute to my dad, I'm going to be scattering his ashes
wow.
mid-Atlantic, which is quite a big thing to do. I've had to get various
Yeah,
permissions to do so. And so anybody who knows him from the industry, and there will be people like Gary Morton and Tony Higgins and Andrew Scott and various others. So hopefully, we can all say goodbye properly.
yeah. No, that sounds amazing. Yeah, and like I said before, best of luck for you and the team. We'll definitely be checking your progress as it goes along, and yeah, hopefully you get to the finish line, and we can see you at Fit, if not before, or at a Pigs or something in the new year to celebrate with you there.
I'll just give a little shout out to my team as well. Crikey.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Niall
you better. You're
Brannigan,
going
our
to spend
skipper.
enough
Yeah.
time with them.
So Niall Brannigan, our skipper, John Watling, and Jason Wilder from the industry. They're going to be my brethren, my
Yeah,
brothers for the
yeah,
next 50 days or so.
and for life once you've done this.
For life, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, thanks very much, Sam. Yeah, like I said,
No
good
problem.
luck, and yeah, we'll hope for all the best, and look forward to hearing about it in the new year.
Thanks very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
No problem. So that's it for today. So I hope you can join us for another episode soon. You can find this episode and all others on our website, www.peopleinglazing.co.uk, on Amazon Music and Spotify. So once again, thank you to Sam for joining us, and see you again soon.